time, yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Yeah, this is tea time, yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome. We are here at the last show of this week and the last show of May. That's right, we're finishing May. And tonight I have Joseph M. Lenard from here coming in and speaking about the book he wrote, Terror Strikes. And we're going to really put some trigger warnings out there just in case anybody is a little triggered by our conversation tonight. And we're also going to wrap up May. So we're going to do a good, hard, deep May finish up with Terror Strikes. So a little bit on Joseph and a little bit of the disclaimer, all that good stuff. And then we're going to wrap it up and we're going to finish up this incredible month of May. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time Live Show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in this show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you find that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect that choice and I will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all tea times are done on a Thursday this year in 2023, unless it's a rescheduled tea time, which will be a Monday or a Tuesday. So now let me give you a little bit on Joseph. Joseph M. Lenard, a.k.a. J. Lenard Detroit, author, blogger, cancer survivor, former IT professional, podcaster, political activist, speaker, spokesperson, that word I'm going to struggle with, for American Hartford Gold IRA Group, vlogger and writer. He's the author of Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, #1 Amazon bestseller, and How to Write a Book and Get It Published. Born in the 1960s, very much a person of the 1980s, lifelong by choice and residence of Michigan. Holder of 36 copyright materials. So let's get Joseph in here, and I'm going to just sip some tea while he gets in here and shares a little bit of.
Yeah.
So,
well, the first thing is that, it's Joseph M. Lenard. It looks like Lenard. It's not French. It's actually Polish somehow, but Lenard without an O. And the word you were looking for was affiliate.
Affiliate. I was just like, sometimes my tongue just twists. I'm like, I can't say it. I'm not even going to try.
No, I'm also co-host of Savaged Unfiltered, and we were recording a show the other day, and I couldn't get the word reciprocate or reciprocity out of my mouth. I'm like blah 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 blah. So
Right? Sometimes your tongue just it's not going there.
yes, like brain is trying to engage the tongue. I'm in drive, but somehow I'm going backwards, right?
Right? Sometimes you just gotta say, you know what? I'll put the plug in the tub. Like that's it. So, Joseph, I really want and your book. I have done some research on it, and it's really an incredible book. So let's talk about terror strikes, and let's get some information out there.
Sure. Well, the first thing is, of course, there are a lot of books that have start off with the two words terror strikes. So it's important, of course, then to remember the subtitle coming soon to a city near you. Well, why that? Due to the Wuhan virus hysteria, there are a lot of people who seem to think terrorism went away. Like terrorists all over the planet all decided, I'm just going to throw away my AK-47 and be a good guy now. Right?
Not
No,
happening.
didn't happen. You just weren't hearing it in your nightly news all the time, right? So coming soon can happen at any time to a city near you, can happen anywhere. This is not just a New York City 9/11 thing, right? My book's international. There is a YYZ Toronto chapter, a London, England chapter, a Madrid, Spain chapter, a Tokyo, Japan. But even aside from those, there's also a Tulsa chapter. There's a Naperville, Illinois chapter. Again, making the point, this isn't a big city issue. I'm going to turn my back on you temporarily to grab.
Oh no, he's already turning his back up.
To grab a sheet of paper because I can't remember everything. I'm 60, gonna turn 61 this year. Memory isn't what it used to be, so I don't memorize this stuff. I've got a note. Like last year in the United States alone, there were over 200 defined mass shootings. All right. Yeah, did you hear that? Right? And here's a couple. Iowa nightclub. Well, that's not a big city location. Arkansas car show. That's not a big city location. Vegas hookah bar. Well, that's certainly not New York, LA, right? A Virginia hookah bar. So, coming soon can happen anytime to a city near you. The people of East Palestine, Ohio, I know you all heard the train derailment outside of East Palestine, Ohio. Well, now I'm not saying that's a terrorist attack, but what I am saying is if those who've read my book were not surprised. They knew it was coming. The Tulsa chapter foretold it. Again, now whether accident or terrorism, it was coming. So if you'd read my book, you wouldn't have been surprised by that. And because years ago there was an Amtrak between Chicago and St. Louis that was derailed in the middle of nowhere. So again, these things can happen anytime, any place. Like Teresa in my Naperville chapter says, she thought she was the mama bear she needed to be for her young daughter, but turns out she was really more an ostrich, right? I'm not selling fear porn here. I don't want you to be paranoid, right? Terrorism is the main thread, but this is not a book about death. It's life and living, right? But like an ostrich, you can't just wander onto train tracks, hear a noise, bury your head, and not expect that oncoming train still isn't gonna bowl you over just because you're not paying attention. So I want you to live your life awake and aware to things around you.
Well, that's what I got when I did the research on you, Joseph, is that you want people to pay attention, you know? And it's and terrorism is not like a big war all the time. It's like school shootings and shootings in malls, and that's somebody taking someone else's life.
Yes,
From what
exactly.
I'm getting from the books and the research that I've done, Joseph, is, pay attention, stay awake, don't close your eyes to things that are
And
coming or that will be
yeah, and
coming.
again, the book is not just about terrorism. Again, from a sheet of paper, so I get this right. Yes, about terrorism, but not a book about death, but life and living. Life over death, hope over fear, faith over despair, love over hate, good over evil, individualism over collectivism, which I know resonates with your freedom truckers, freedom over tyranny, family and friends, right? So there's a lot of things really going on in this book. Terrorism is just the thread that ties these things together. Because we follow Martin, a Detroit newspaper man, who decides to write a book called Terrorist Tracks about terrorism. So that's really what the book is. It's a book in a book. We follow him and his research and thinking about these things. And it's not just terrorism, right? Crime. Crime is like out of control because some of these people with this ridiculous notion of if you're just really nice to criminals, maybe they'll stop being criminals. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just wake up and take a
Hello?
magic pill and it's all gone, right?
Hello? So crime can happen anywhere around any corner. Again, not to make you paranoid, but just live, but be alert, right? Like Teresa in the Naperville chapter. You've got to be a mama bear if you're a parent, right, for your child. You can't be the ostrich.
And I think it's really important what you're doing, Joseph, because you're bringing the awareness of paying attention, but you're not saying terrorism. Your book was put in the terrorism category on Amazon because of what was written in it, but you're giving the awareness of things coming and things that have happened. And I think we need that research and we need that education out there to understand words, not be paranoid and not be afraid. The word terror is not to go and put yourself in panic mode. It's to just be awake,
Right.
be alert,
Right.
you know?
The word situational awareness. Now, I use that term advisedly, and because people hear that and they automatically think some spy movie on TV, right? The guy goes into the restaurant and he picks the booth in the back corner so he can always have his eyes on the door. Always everything. I'm not talking about that kind of paranoia. Situational awareness is all kinds of degrees, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to a restaurant that's a taco place, I'm not expecting to get pizza. That's a degree of situational awareness, a very oversimplification. But
I like the way you put that in there, Joseph. If you're going to Taco Bell, you're not getting pizza. You're getting a taco.
But, people don't think of that, though, until I put it in those simple terms. But I've been writing my whole life, so, I think in that way. And, people don't necessarily think it that way. And until it's presented to them, then it's like, oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's common sense. But nobody quite put it that way before.
Well, we have to stop being so serious. We need to be alert and awake, but we need to lighten up a little bit.
I am so glad you said that because, I joke. Like, I was joking about your tea. Number one, I don't do tea. I don't do coffee. This is Soda Stream root beer. So, because I don't buy soda from the store. I have a soda stream, so I take good, clean water, put it through the CO2 system to give it the bubbles and add the flavoring. So I don't have all that caffeine and sugar and high fructose corn syrup and all that nastiness.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was going with this.
That's okay. Just spill it like a good old messy tea.
But because one of your things you had T for past, E for present. Okay, there's an E in there, but A for future. Now I know you spell some things funny up there in Canada with the French influence.
Well, we put
but
that
there's
A
no
in
A in future any way, shape, or how. But seriously about not being serious. Terror strikes coming soon to a city near you. There is a chapter called Comic Relief. I make the very point. Very serious book. A whole lot of serious stuff going on around you. But you've got to maintain a sense of humor.
Yep.
Right? Or you'll go
to.
crazy. You'll be balled up in the corner, sucking on your thumb in the fetal position, crying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, all the time, right? We don't want that. I don't want that for you. That's why there's a comic relief chapter in my book.
And Joseph, when I asked you to describe yourself as one word to describe yourself, you gave me the word jokester. Oh. And you've been doing that all week with me. You've been a jokester all week with me.
Yeah. Well, behind the scenes, for those of you, I got Liz to sign up for Retalk, which is a social media platform out of the UK. I'm on 15 different platforms because I don't believe in adhering myself to one audience. Yep. I want to speak to as broad a group and a wide a variety of people as possible. So I introduced Liz to Retalk. And we've kind of been joking and teasing and going back and forth on Retalk. So at J. Lenard Detroit on virtually any social media platform except Twitter. That account is still perma-banned. I'm still arguing with Elon to unban me. But most platforms at J. Lenard Detroit, including Retalk, and you are Ms. Liz's Teatime on Retalk, right?
Yes, I am. And that's what I mean. Like my guests don't just meet Miss Liz, on the day of interview. They meet me during the week, months ahead. And we joke back and forth for weeks. Yeah. We really built that relationship together.
And like I say, comic relief. This isn't in the comic relief chapter, but that sets it up. I tell a couple of what I call Joe originals. Okay, I've literally written jokes that my local comedians use on stage. They don't use this one, but it'll be obvious once you hear it, and it's in the book. So here's a bit of a small spoiler, tease, right? But to make the point, even bad humor is good for you, right? All right, to be or not to be, that is truly the question. Because if it's to be, I got bingo! That's a Joe original. Or as Michael Gardner, like I said, I co-host Savaged Unfiltered podcast. Michael Gardner, the creator of the show, calls me Joe the Joke Man Lenard. Yeah, as you can see, right?
Joseph, we have a question here for you. Are you a professional comedian?
Oh, yeah. No. You know what? And we interviewed a couple comedians on Savaged Unfiltered lately, and the one, Sadia, she said, maybe you really ought to go to an open mic night one night. I said, no, I can't remember the stuff. I can't do a stage presence, but I can do some jokes. And like I said, I've handed jokes to professional comedians here in Wyandotte at the Portofino restaurant, there is the comedy room. And I know Saul and Cal and Charlene over there. So they've used some of my jokes. So yeah, I mean, I love humor, especially bad puns, as you know from Retalk. You've seen plenty of them.
Yes, I have.
I cannot resist a bad
I'm
pun.
coming for you. Don't worry. I'm coming. I'm coming in low, and I'm going to win that race.
Yeah, and what she's referring to is I said, I'm happy to bring her on Retalk, introduce her, and she's my friend. Retalk works a little different. It's a point system. You build points. Until she gets close to me in points, then it's, all bets are off. Then we become enemas. I mean enemies. Right?
Well,
That's one
I'll
of my
take the
bad
enemy
puns.
over the enema.
But again, I cannot resist a bad pun. You know, people may cringe, but still, that cringe lightens the mood.
It does.
It changes the tone. Somebody may be having a bad day. And again, back to seriousness, like PTSD is dealt with in this book. Survivor's guilt, the issue of suicide prevention. Because sometimes someone may survive like 9/11, and why did I survive? Why did I get out of the building whereas my colleagues didn't? Survivor's guilt is a heavy burden on people. So suicide prevention is a serious sub-thread in the book. And a not so serious one, if you're into sports, if you like baseball, baseball's in the book too. It'll make sense once you read it. It may not now. But, so things are tense. And if you could just get somebody off kilter and out of their depression with even a horrible bad joke like the play on words between enema and enemy, right? It can change their whole day.
Yeah. So, Joseph, you say baseball. Why is baseball in the book?
Well, I want to be careful. I can't give too many spoilers, but
okay, no spoilers. We're not going to home base.
I will say this. Following 9/11, the world was still somewhat paranoid, and are we ever going to have any sense of normalcy anymore? And that answer came when George W. Bush threw a blazing strike over the plate at the Yankees game to say, we're returning to normal. And then there's more to it than just that. But that, and the word terror strikes. I like enemy and enema. I like wordplay. Strikes. Terror strikes, as in an assault. Strikes, as in ball down the middle over the plate, baseball. That's
I like
one
that because
tease.
you make people look at it differently, right? You bring in the words and you make them look at the word differently.
Well,
like a strike, like a bomb coming in, and a strike like a baseball game. There's different ways of looking at things, and I think that's where we really need to educate people in the minds of saying, you see the word terror, you don't go, oh, you go, I want to know more.
Right, exactly, and there's several plays on words through the book. Obviously, I don't want to give a bunch of them away. Again,
yeah, go and buy a copy. Yes. Everyone go out and get a copy.
And so I don't forget, thank you. You kind of reminded me. Anyone listening in the United States, because the cost of shipping is pathetic out, international shipping.
I know.
You've got to buy local. But anyone in the U.S. watching, you could go to terrorstrikes.info/shop. Use the promo code Miss Liz to get 15% off the book plus free shipping. Now, if you're outside the U.S., you can still go to terrorstrikes.info/shop. Then there's a link to international sales where you could find the book anywhere all over the world, somewhere close to you, so you're not paying outrageous shipping. But another play I mentioned, Martin is writing a book on terrorism. His book is going to be called Terrorist Tracks. And there's another play, Tracks, as in Sherlock Holmes mystery, following in the footsteps, right? And
Wow.
tracks. There are a lot of attacks on railways.
That is so true. That is so true that we don't speak of. We don't
Tracks.
talk about.
But my book goes into that. So you've got tracks. And the other thing, I hope people see a theme here. Terror strikes coming soon to a city near you. It's not a Rambo blood and guts shoot 'em up.
If you want to watch Rambo, go and
Yeah.
go to Netflix.
This is a book to make you use your brain. This is an intellectual pursuit in reading. And
Yeah,
it's for all ages. I made sure to not there's one damn in the book. Spoiler.
But dam could be a water dam.
Yeah, well, not necessarily, but in a war scene, damn is used. Because I'm setting a war scene. If they don't at least use the word damn, if not worse, you're not going to believe the scene, right? But at the same time, I want you to be able to actually read it and then hand it to a middle schooler to learn things they're not getting in school. It's a historical fiction book. I call it faction, part fact, part fiction, so that people are learning history they're not getting in school. I tie a lot of things together here.
I like that you want to get into schools, and I like that we need to bring different to the schools. The schools are all over the place. They're a mess.
Yeah,
they're a terror. There's a terror right there.
Yeah, you know why this book won't get in schools? There's no porn in it. They're too busy peddling porn on children in schools these days. I mean, I don't care what you want to do at your house. Leave the children alone.
Exactly. I'm with you on that one, Joseph. 100%. We need to start educating the kids' minds with history, with real good education. Life skills. The life skills are gone out the window. Budgets, finances, and nobody knows how to do anything anymore.
Yes, I write blogs too, and that, and several times I've gone off on the issue of education. So I happen to have this handy. I'm going to read this one particular paragraph that I often repeat. In the USA, the indoctrination factories and or other supposed free society systems are peddling radicalism, raunch, perversion, racism through CRT, and anti-Americanism, the new R's. Why do I say that? Right? We used to educate the 3 R's, we used to call it. I say it's the core R's. To our entitled, lazy, participant trophy, overblown, self-esteem buffoons, know-nothing brats. Meanwhile, China is teaching their children the traditional R's: reading, writing, arithmetic, history, science. See what I did there? The R don't belong there, but I put an R in.
I see what you did, because I know how you like to joke around, So for the listeners out there and the ones that will watch the replay later, Joseph, he's a jokester. Let's just have some fun. Let's just laugh a little. We don't always have to be so serious. But we do have to be serious about education.
This is a serious,
education system needs to change.
But in that joke, there's an important point. Our kids are not learning anything. They're too stupid to know there is no R in science. It isn't science. So I go on to further say kids are so dumb they wouldn't know the R doesn't belong there. Or virology, right? No R belongs there either. Rather than genderism, honor, respect, work ethic. Those things are being taught by our enemies. But we're teaching our kid everybody gets a trophy. You're special no matter what. And they're not prepared for the real world when the time comes for them to join it.
That is so true. You know, you're hitting on some really good points. And I think now is a good time, Joseph, to ask you what your tea is, because I think you're all fired up and I think you're going to spill a real messy tea here with me.
well, like I said.
What are you giving me? What 3 words are you going to give me? Because I'm ready for you.
I've got them. I figured them out. I wrote them down. Because
I knew you would. I told you.
Like I said, I'm going to turn 61 this year, so the memory isn't always great. But as Michael Gardner of the Savage Unfiltered podcast that I co-host with on occasion, he says, he a lot of times he's got to say, shut up, slow down, put a comma in there somewhere, put a period in there somewhere, because I do, I get 1,000 things running through my brain and they just kind of flood like a tidal wave out my mouth all at once.
I told you, you're just a big old mess. You just make a big old spill of tea.
Yeah, I get going 100 miles a minute. It's like, that's why people need to listen to the podcast usually several times. You might have missed something. So, because you
might have missed that R.
Right, one of my R's. Right, there were a lot of extra R's in there. Did you catch them all? There will be a quiz following the show.
Miss Liz is going to put a test out to see how many people caught that extra R.
But yeah, T, trust, right? It takes people a while over time to learn to trust someone. Ronald Reagan, one of my idols, once said, trust but verify, right? Look things up for yourself, confirm things. Who is honest? Who is a liar? It takes time to learn that trust and to build a trust. And the E, enlightenment. And I don't necessarily mean that in a spiritual, religious way, but knowledge, like we spoke of, right? Learning things. Don't just accept. It goes back to trust. If I tell you the sky is blue, don't believe me. And really, I'm being serious. Yep. Don't believe me, because it isn't. That's a scientific misnomer. The sky is black. The natural state of the sky is devoid of all color, blackness. That's why when you look up at night, you see the real sky color. It looks blue on Earth, from Earth during the day because of refraction and reflectivity off the planet's waters. Mars sky would look red for the refraction of the red clay, right? Black is the absence of all color. Think of a prism, right? You shine light through it, yep. You see all those colors, because light is the presence of all color. So, and my A, I didn't forget where I was going this time.
I'm waiting for the best.
A goes back to both trust and enlightenment, the advancement of knowledge. That's why my book is historical fiction. I could have just written fiction, but the way I see it is having historical actions in there teaches people things they may have never learned or have forgotten. And it also lends credibility to my fiction, because it's tying a fictional set of scenes in with historical past real scenes. So to me, hopefully, when you're reading it in your mind, it sells it, right? Because you go to a movie and you have to suspend reality. Well, I don't want you to suspend reality. All those fake stunts and what, all that action stuff to, it's like, no, yeah, that could never happen, right? But they expect you to suspend belief, all reality around you. I don't want you to do that. I want you to stay rooted in reality when reading my book and come away with, again, that situational awareness in more than one sense of the word.
So, Joseph, we have a question here. How long is the book?
Oh, good question. Good question. It is 286 pages technically. All right. That though includes an introduction, a foreword, the table of contents, and all that stuff. The book itself, the chapters that make up the story, are about 250 pages. And there's a reason for that, too. We're dealing in a time where pocketbooks are tight. I know that. I recognize that. I myself have been on disability since 2004. I know what inflation does to one's budget. I know your entertainment dollars are less than what they were 5 years ago.
Yep.
So I could have wrote, and in fact, there's a joke in the book. I won't give it away, but you'll get it when you read the book. Martin contemplates the same concept. I could write a 700-page book, but I don't want you to have to pay $50 for it. Right? I want a reasonable size, gets the points across book into your hands at a good, reasonable cost.
So, Joseph, we have a question. How big are the chapters in the books?
Oh, it varies. It varies. I'm going to grab my book. I'm turning my back on you again.
Oh, my God. I am so offended. The back.
Because since you're up there in Canada, there are varying sizes. And a chapter basically sets up with an opening kind of paragraph. And I will read the YYZ, which everyone, even if they're not from Canada, should know is the Toronto Airport, which comes from the rock band Rush. Well, that's an instrumental tune. So I opened the YYZ chapter with another Rush song. Wish them well. Spirits turn bitter by the poison of envy, always angry and dissatisfied. Even the lost ones, the frightened and mean ones, even the ones with a devil inside. All that we can do is wish them well. Is that fitting for a book on terrorism?
That is really good.
But that doesn't really answer.
It doesn't really go with the title. When you open it, it brings you to a different direction.
Right. And it sets up that chapter for Toronto. And but yeah, they're varying lengths. Some are maybe only 5 pages. I don't think there's one that's only 5, but just to pull a number out of my head, and 9/11 is the longest chapter, which would make sense since it's the preeminent terrorist attack of our times.
Yeah.
But even then, I could have broke that up. I wanted to get it out last year. I could have taken another year, 2 years writing this book, because one thing I thought of was acute. We talked about wordplay. I was thinking about putting a hidden gems for people who like Easter eggs.
Okay,
I was thinking 9/11 could have been the 9th chapter and 11 pages long. And see how many people would have caught that. And
that's really interesting, though, Joseph, because we need to start doing that, putting these secret gems in to see if people are actually paying attention. you know?
But again, that kind of reinforces. Now, I don't want to play this up too much. I don't want to make this sound. Again, this is an all ages book. So it's written so that a middle schooler can read it. You don't have to be a PhD intellect to read this book, right? I want to be careful, but it comes from an intellectual point of view. And the other thing, too, was Madrid happened on 3/11. That would have been chapter 3 and 11 pages long had I had more time to play with it, you know. But I didn't want to take another year because here's a behind the scene you don't get too many places. I actually started this book in 2006.
Wow.
Yeah, it came to me as most of my writings. Everybody, you know, my other book is How to Write a Book and Get It Published, right? If you're thinking about writing, or even if you're not thinking about writing, maybe you want behind the scenes of what goes on in an author's brain to getting a book to you. How does that happen? How to Write a Book and Get It Published. Hints, Tips, and Techniques is kind of like a behind-the-scenes book for you. Or if you're looking to write and publish, it'll be a guidebook. But yeah, Terror Strikes came to me like most of my writings. Everybody's motivations and inspirations are different. And I go into that in How to Write a Book and Get It Published, right? But for me, my writings generally come to me in a dream. And this came to me in a dream in 2006. I spent 7 or 8 months writing it in 2006. I had a beginning, I had a middle, I had my ending. This has to be my ending. This book has to end that way, but there were some in-between pieces that just weren't right. So I figured I'd set it off to the side for a little while, you know, and you know, time went by, we moved on to other projects, and lo and behold, in 2021, the dream came back.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I get it. I dusted it off. I spent another 6 months. Now, obviously, since I started it in 2006, there was some stuff that was stale that then had to come out and be rewritten, as well as the new stuff added. But it was the perfect timing because, like I said at the beginning of the show, with the Wuhan hysteria, people have forgotten about terrorism. It hadn't gone anywhere. It's still here. And again, like the ostrich, just because you don't think about it, don't mean it can't happen to you.
And it can come at any time, so it's coming to a city near you.
Yep, coming soon to a city near you. Exactly. Thank you.
I was wondering why that subtitle was on that book, and I was like, why? Like, coming soon. Okay, the book is coming soon, but why is it on the book?
Yeah, exactly. Again, double important meanings. Now, now if you just put in Terror Strikes in Amazon, you'll get a boatload of books. So you need to know the subtitle, and every subtitle, of course, then has meaning. That's why mine is coming soon. Again, can happen anytime to a city near you, can happen any place. It is absolutely imperative that subtitle goes with that book to make those points.
So we have a question. Why that title, Terror Strikes?
Well, again, maybe they weren't tuned in earlier. Terror Strikes has got a double meaning to it. Strikes, as in an assault, as a terrorist strikes a location. Strikes, as in baseball balls and strikes.
Yeah, we're going for home runs here tonight.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to
What's the score so far? Is this Liz winning or is it Joseph winning? You know, I think I'm in the lead tonight with the team.
Oh, no. You're paying off the umpire.
Oh, is that what I'm doing? No, okay.
No, but seriously, that's why that title, that's why it's important that title goes to this book. But again, in case if you missed it earlier, not a book about death, life and living. I can't stress that enough. Don't let the fact that terrorism is involved here dissuade you from the book. You can read it for a myriad host of other reasons. All those that I read earlier, where did I put my paper, right? It's about life over death, hope over fear, faith over despair, love over hate, good over evil, individualism over collectivism, freedom over tyranny, family and friends. And I want to go back to one, hope over fear. Here's a little spoiler for you, and to give you that, connotation of this is an intellectual pursuit, not a blood and guts shoot 'em up kind of book. Hope over fear. Martin's wife's name is Hope. So it is literally and figuratively about hope. Those are the kind of things I want to, that's the kind of imagery I want to evoke in you.
And I want everyone who's listening and who will share this tea time and listen to the replay. Listen to this tea time over and over again. You're going to get little tidbits. You're going to get those extra R's. You're going to get those little jokes, and you're going to understand why we're doing this tea time tonight, why we're expressing and bringing that education to the table of terror strikes, because we look at words and right away we go to what society and systems have told us to feel. We're here tonight and we're going to bring you a different way of terror. And in the beginning, if you watch the beginning of the tea time, you see the video where Miss Liz puts no terrorism. It means no closing your eyes. Like, leave your eyes open, pay attention, be alert. When you hear the word terrorism, what do you think, Terry? Joseph? Oh, there's a Terry out there that wants to talk to you tonight. You just go and rest yourself.
Yeah. There's no Terry anywhere in my family, so.
I know, right?
But no, you so brilliantly, which is why you're a host, led me down a path I needed to go down. We needed to go down. That's another point here. The terrorism and the double meaning and yes, don't close your eyes. That's one of the points. I've said it several times. I don't want you to be paranoid. I don't want you to let them win. They win if you are terrorized. Don't allow it. Know it happens. Know it's a part of life now. Know it's around you. Know it's going to happen. But don't panic when it does.
Yep. Be alert. If you're alert, there's no panic needed. We really just need to look at words differently. When I hear the word terrorism, I'm just get alert. Something's coming.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. I don't want you to be afraid. Again, I use the term fear porn because you see that on the nightly news. That's all they do. Peddle fear porn to get you to tune in. What am I supposed to be afraid of today? What went wrong today? Which reminds me, since you're up in Canada, Anne Murray. You know who Anne Murray is, right?
Yes, I do.
After we're all done here, I urge you all to go to YouTube. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube. Look up Anne Murray, A Little Good News Today. Great song. We could all use a little good news today. And this is about not allowing others to terrorize you.
And you did, and I heard somewhere along the line, Joseph, that you said that I got a point. So I think I'm in the lead.
Oh!
I did. I paid attention.
I shot myself in the foot with that one. Yeah. Good one, Liz. Good one.
I just slid in for a home run. You see how I did that?
Yeah, you got the better of me on that one. Yeah, I set you up for that. I was the Martin to your Lewis. Yeah, for
I
those who
told you,
will
I
get
come
it.
in slow. I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
I win my race.
Yeah.
So Joseph, Joseph, I want to get into the color red. You have your name in red. The books are in red and black. Your favorite color is red. So why red?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It's just kind of always been. I'm no longer married. I'm divorced, but I married a redhead. Is that coincidental or not? You decide. But yeah. But no, yeah, I just always liked the black and red combination. Growing up, I played hockey. A lot of the hockey teams we played on, my dad was a coach for a lot of them, and he was tired of the same old blue and white, green and white color schemes. So his teams would always have a black and red themed jersey. And you would always know that it would work because no other team would have that. They'd always have the lame, I'm going to call them, color schemes. So, and we'd have these mean, menacing black and red jerseys. Blood and guts, right?
Coming for you. Be aware.
So yeah, red's just kind of always been my color, and Terror Strikes, the black and red theme. As we were going through the different imagery, just fit really well. And yeah, my name's in red again, just because it's matching the books. And if you could see this on video, that's part of the Detroit cityscape behind me. And I've written many books. I've been writing my whole life. My father was actually the founder and lead singer and accordion player for Ted Leonard Jr. and the Polka Kings. And yeah, you could go find their albums, even or an 8-track.
Are you taking me dancing now?
out on eBay still. You could still find those. So I got the creative gene early. So yeah, I recorded music in the 70s and 80s, but that never really went anywhere. But short stories, novelettes, novels always stuck with me. But I only have 2 international books out right now, even though I've written many. Terror Strikes coming soon to a city near you. And a lot of interviews, the interviewer would say, come back and just discuss the writing process, right? And the publishing process. So I said, well, my second international book has got to be How to Write a Book and Get It Published, Hints, Tips, and Techniques, right? So, yeah, it just adopted the same color scheme to link the books, kind of tie it all together there. But, yeah, because I #1 bestseller on Amazon. Terror Strikes coming soon to a city near you. #1 Amazon bestseller. Got to get that in. I'm proud of it. I earned it, so I'm going to say it. And so, yeah, if you're interested in writing a book, I, as a #1 bestseller, take you through the journey in how to write a book and get it published, hints, tips, and techniques, how to hopefully achieve the same dream that I was able to achieve. But again, if you're not interested in writing and publishing, think of it like a tell-all without the name dropping, right? It's a behind-the-scenes look at what does an author go through to get a book into your hands to read it. It will give you some insight behind books you've never had before.
And you're taking me dancing because you mentioned polka. I'm coming in with another point here. I got to get these points. I can't get the points on that real talk. I'm going to get the points on Teatime. So, Joseph, what final message would you like to share with the audience tonight?
Well, since you mentioned music, and since I mentioned I wrote and recorded music, I don't have any of it available online or anything. But there is one thing music related that is online. if you go to terrorstrikes.info, under the More tab, there's a radio play that I wrote in 1984. That was in response to a music contest CJOM Windsor, Ontario station was having, where you wrote a radio play introduction to the Song of the Week. And that week it was Billy Joel's Eyes Without a Face. So I wrote The Adventures of Detective Idol to introduce that song. It's a reimagining of the song because I've heard him talk about it came out of a movie he saw, an old horror movie where somebody removed a person's face, so it was eyes without a face. That's the story behind the song. I reimagine it with my radio play intro. I've reached out to Billy Idol. Unfortunately, I've never heard back. But as you could see, there's a lot of things here. Terrorstrikes.info is one of my websites. That's for the book. But there's a More tab, and there is lots of rabbit holes, like a page for my father, Ted Lenard Jr. and the Polka Kings. The CJOM radio play. You can read the play, you can listen to the play, you can watch the Billy Idol video there, whole lot of stuff there. And I also have josephmlenard.us, and I see you have that on the screen. That's the author site my publisher put up for me. There's not much there. That's mainly, again, so that I give out my name. I want people to be able to find me there, obviously. And if you want to reach out to me for any reason, you can go to josephmlenard.us. Again, it looks like Lenard. It's not French. It's Lenard without an O. Joseph.
My Canadian French blood.
Yeah.
Is Lenard.
Right.
I just flow it differently.
But there is a contact tab at either of those sites if you want to reach out to me, or if you use Shopify. If you want a one-on-one consultation about writing your book, you could go to Shopify and find Joseph M. Lenard Media, and we can have a one-on-one Zoom consultation.
So if anybody wanted to reach you, the best one to get is the Joseph Lenard.
Yeah.
I want to do the French way again.
Yeah,
it's my French
no.
Canadian blood. I'm sorry.
Oh, there's the sorry.
Minus a point.
Sorry. There's the Canadian sorry. Yeah. I love the Canadian accent. I used to vacation up on Sparrow Lake in Aurelia, which is just outside of north of Toronto. And shout out, rest in peace, Gordon Lightfoot, who was from Aurelia. So, and yeah, we still have the Edmund Fitzgerald Memorial at Mariner Church here in Detroit every year in honor of those who went down, who are lost, never found. So yeah, I love the Canadian accent is where I was going with that. I'm not mocking you. I'm not making fun.
You're not going to take a point away from me. I keep my points.
This is a loving tease.
Well, it's been a real honor having you sit with me, Joseph. And this is what we need. We need a little humor. You hear and you see the book Terror Strikes and you think, oh, you know what? Listen to this Tea Time and you're going to see that we're going to take you on a different journey. And we're going to close up May with a really strong terror strike, with a home base run. I'm striking Joseph and I'm coming for him because that's just how Miss Liz works. Joseph, so I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank all the viewers and listeners. If you're listening to the replay, push #replay. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I always like to learn where you're coming in from. And if you have a platform that Miss Liz is not on and you'd like me to be on it, send it to me like Joseph has with the Real Talk. And we'll just get Miss Liz all over it. And Miss Liz will just keep getting points all over the stadium and get a bunch of home runs because that's just how we roll.
Well, that's another thing in the book. I mean, politics is in the book, free speech. and I always social media. I'm on 15 platforms. Why would you want to limit yourself? Get
Right?
on all of them.
Just make a mess. Just spill it. And come in with a home run and a good point. So I want to thank everybody for tuning into Tea Time tonight. And I will see everybody next week with a new set of 3 guests next Thursday at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. That's just how
cannot
this rolls.
possibly be as good as this episode. Cannot possibly.
So let's just share the terror and let's strike it hard.
All right. Take care, everybody. God bless.